is Vijayashree. I am an economist by profession and a slow living enthusiast by nature. This is where I spill my little soul searching pursuits. Thank you so much for the immense love you people showed for the last video. Today's video will be more inclined to my subject, economics. So today let's discuss about the India-Canada relationship, or rather the churning issues behind the India-Canada dynamics. In this video, I will be detailing the whole sequence of events with timeline and the potential consequences. So without much ado, let's get started. The whole story began when Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a 46-year-old pro-Khalistani activist, was shot dead in front of a Sikh Gurudwara in British Columbia region of Canada. This happened in June 2023. Now, what is Khalistan? What is a Khalistani movement? And who was Hardeep Singh Nijjar? A Khalistani movement is a separatist movement which claims the geographical areas of Pakistani Punjab and the Indian regions of Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and Himachal Pradesh to form a separate sovereign state called Khalistan. Although the movement dates back even before independence, the whole concept of Khalistan became rather violent during 1970s and 1980s. The well-renowned Operation Blue Star, which was conducted under the Prime Ministership of Ms. Indira Gandhi, was intended to remove such Sikh separatist leaders from the buildings of Golden Temple. However, the whole operation had tragic and terrific outcomes. By 1990s, the whole public sentiments for Khalistani movement simmered down, and right now or currently the strands of the movement are present among a section of Sikh diaspora based in Canada, US, UK and Australia. Now, who was Hardeep Singh Nijjar? Nijjar was a sympathizer for Sikh independence and was a pro-Khalistani activist. He was the chief of a militant outfit called as Khalistani Tiger Force and was also the member of another outfit called as Sikhs for Justice. In 1995, Nijjar was arrested in Indian soil for his terror activities or spreading anti-India sentiments. In 1997, Nijjar fled to Canada using a fake passport. However, even after going to Canada, he continued his propaganda for a Khalistan referendum. Nijjar is associated with several terror activities which happened in India during that time. In 2007 and 2010, Nijjar was identified to be associated with bomb blasts which happened in Ludhiana and Patiala regions of Punjab. In 2020, Indian government declared Hardeep Singh Nijjar to be a designated terrorist. And in 2022, the Indian government demanded the extradition or the surrender of this criminal to Indian government. And in June 2023, he got assassinated or he got killed by two unidentified persons in front of Sikh Gurudwara. So this is what happened. This whole killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, the whole Khalistani referendum, the whole freedom of expression speech by Sikh communities in Canada got representation even in the G20 meetings where both parties, India and Canada, expressed concerns over the referendum, over the Khalistani movement. But this raising of concern had two contrasting dimensions. While Canada claimed that such referendums were a part of freedom of expression and whatever happening is their internal affair and that India is interfering in their internal matters, Indian government was of the opinion that if Canada is providing a safe haven to such terror outfits, it is ultimately threatening the territorial integrity of India. And let's go back to the timeline. June 2023, Nijjar got killed. Several weeks after, on September 10, 2023, Sikhs for Justice outfit, another pro-Khalistani outfit, brings up another Khalistan referendum. Indian government again raises concerns over this. But to everyone's surprise, on September 18, 2023, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, makes a public statement accusing an Indian government's alleged influence or Indian government's involvement in the killing of Niger in Canadian soil. India government reacts to this malicious propaganda saying that the whole idea by the Canadian government was absurd and was motivated. Canadian government reacts by expelling an Indian diplomat in Canada. Indian government reacts by expelling a Canadian diplomat in India. So such turf or such conflict of interest started growing or started escalating in a much exploding fashion. So this is all about the timeline of events or the sequence of events which had happened over the past couple of weeks. Now let's jump into the consequences. But before that, when I was analyzing the whole issue, when I was understanding the whole issue, one question popped in my mind. Why is Canadian government so much interested in the Sikh communities or in pro-Khalistani movement? Why is it just not another issue? And then, to my surprise, what I found out was that vote bank is the answer. The Sikh communities constitute around 2.1% of the Canadian population. So it means that it's a huge population and a huge vote bank. The prominence of the Sikh communities for the Canadian government can be seen in the representation of Sikh communities in Parliament. In Trudeau's cabinet, around 4 ministers are having a Sikh origin. So this explains the Canadian enthusiasm in the whole matter. Now, coming back to the consequences. I would like to bifurcate the whole consequences which the whole movement will have into 2 dimensions. One is economic consequences and the other is the consequences this whole conflict of interest will have on an international realm or with a global perspective. Again, this economic consequences I would like to bifurcate into 2, trade element and immigration. Now, let's pick up the trade element. According to the Consulate General of India, which is based in Canada, the bilateral trade between India and Canada has grown or has shown an improvement of around 57% over the last couple of years. This statistics or this figure means that the bilateral trade relations between India and Canada were slowly, gradually improving. Now, to get the picture more exciting, let me give some facts and figures. Indian exports to Canada is of the value of around $4.11 billion and Indian imports from Canada values around $4.05 billion. Also, Canada is the 18th largest investment partner for India and the total Canadian investment adds up to 0.5% of the total foreign direct investment inflow to India. So why I put this whole statistical figures, it is not a statistical jugglery. Why I put these facts and figures is to express a matter or express a statement that for India, Canada is an important partner in the West or a partner with significant potential from the West. And any conflict with that partner can have economic impacts on India. Now, another dimension to this trade element is the Indo-Pacific strategy. So, the Indo-Pacific strategy is a strategy document which was released by the Canadian government in 2022, which comprises of 40 nations or 40 countries falling in the Indo-Pacific region. And in this whole Indo-Pacific strategy, Canada gives a relevant position for India. So this whole Indo-Pacific strategy has the objective of economic cooperation, strengthening security, among many other objectives. So trade missions are one significant part of Indo-Pacific strategies. And following up, it can also, this whole Indo-Pacific strategy can also be a foreground to a further improvement in trade relation in form of a comprehensive economic partnership, which may in future further escalate to a free trade partnership. So this implies that when we are having a conflict with Canada, it can mean that we are putting billions and billions of dollars worth investment at stake. Now, over the last couple of minutes, I was discussing about the economic consequences India will have to face if we are in conflict with Canada. But it is not only the Indian case. Even Canada will be at loss if this conflict escalates. Let's start with the Indo-Pacific strategy. Why Canada gave importance for India as a relevant partner? First reason is that India is a growing economy. Not a growing economy, it's a galloping economy with a favorable demographic dividend. So, having the support of such a fertile soil is vital for Canadian economy as well. Second, why again Indo-Pacific region? In the whole strategy document, why did Canada give so much importance for India? The second reason is that having an alliance or having a support of India would mean that the Chinese aggression towards the international law can be to some extent regulated. For these reasons, if the conflict escalates, even Canada would be at loss. Now, let's examine the second element in economic consequence, which is immigration. Around 5.26% of the whole overseas population of India is staying in Canada. More alarmingly, more than 13% of Indian students who are studying abroad is in Canadian soil. So, again, more than a diplomatic interest, resolving this issue lies in a welfare dimension. So, if we are not resolving this issue amicably, the whole welfare of the country, the whole internal politics, internal dimensions will be at stake. The same is with Canadian population or the Canadian government. More than 3% of Canadian population is comprised of Indian diaspora. The 2.1% which I mentioned was only for the Sikh communities. But taken together, more than 3% of Canadian population is comprised of Indian diaspora. So anything which is affecting the Indian diaspora is in turn affecting the well-functioning economy of Canada. So I have discussed the both elements, trade and immigration. If the conflict escalates, where will India hurt most? Is it trade or is it immigration? Definitely it is not trade, because Canada is one trading partner or one country with which India is having a favorable balance of trade or a trade surplus. As I mentioned, we are having exports worth $4.11 billion, whereas our imports are only 4.05, which means that we are having a trade surplus. Again, the whole trade missions which I mentioned, the whole Indo-Pacific strategy, the whole comprehensive economic partnership, the whole free trade agreement, these are all negotiations in line. These agreements have not fructified. So, we are not putting any trade interest in stake if this conflict escalates. Rather, where we will hurt, it is the immigration element, wherein once this explosive statement by Trudeau came up, once this whole conflict started happening, once this sequence of events getting limelight, many segments of Indian population got panicked. This includes the family or the parents of students and workers staying abroad. This includes people who are awaiting their visa to Canada. This includes the aspirations of Indian youth who want to explore Canada. So here immigration, if we take the two elements, trade and immigration or the welfare of diaspora is where Indian economy will be hurt the most. Now, let's come to the international dimension. When we are analyzing an issue of such immense potential between two powerful nations like India and Canada, we have to have a macro perspective, or rather a global perspective. And in this particular case, when we are analyzing this global perspective, one term comes into importance. It is called as the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance. The Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance is an alliance of 5 countries, namely the United States, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Australia and Canada, which was formed during the post-Cold War period. Now, why is Five Eyes important to India, particularly in this India-Canada conflict? The Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance implies that it is an alliance of Western giants. It is a conglomeration of these Western giants. And it is claimed by Canada that whatever evidence it has against Indian government, it has submitted or it has shared with these Five Eyes also. Now remember the fact that the allegations against India have no base or no evidence so far. It is not a concrete evidence. These are only claims. These are not published evidence. But however, they have threatened that the whole evidences, the so-called evidences which they have, their security agencies have collected, Canadian government has shared it with the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance. And most alarmingly, each individual member of this alliance has issued statements to India suggesting that India must cooperate with the ongoing investigation. None of the countries have supported the claim of Canada. None of the countries have explicitly given support to Canada, but they have issued statements to India that that Indian government must cooperate with the negotiations. What does this mean? If the whole West conspires against India, this would mean that many of the ambitious goals and projects of India would be at stake. This includes the much awaited permanent membership in UN Security Council. This includes the Indo-Europe economic corridor through the Middle East. So all these projects, all these aspirations are having multiple implications on India's development. So if the West conspires against India, all these projects would be at stake. Now, is it only the India which is the lowest facing partner? No, it is not the only partner. I agree, West is a giant. West is an economic giant. West has technology. West is the first mover in case of technology, in case of innovation. But West is also aging West. West requires the vibrant demographic dividend, the favorable demographic dividend of India, the economic resources of India, the natural resources of India, the talent and potential of India. Even the growth potential of India is much awaited by the West. So, if the West is to lose Indian soil or Indian support, this could also mean a difficult situation for the West. So, as with every conflict, even here, both the parties will be at stake. Now, throughout this event, what has been India's stand? India has remained a staunch, India has remained with having a staunch stand on the whole issues. It has played rightly with all its potential of being a growing economy with the positive demographic dividend. It has become confident with all these factors. Now, India has also criticized the West for its double standards. What do you mean by this double standards? In a recent statement by Antony Blinken, the US representative, he has mentioned that if India is proved guilty in this particular scenario, India will have no special exemption. What this would mean? India would be punished. But the same United States had faced similar accusations and proved allegations and proved evidences with concrete evidences during the Iran-Iraq war. But they dodged every allegations in a very, by a smooth cakewalk. That is why Indian government has pointed out that the West is having a double standard. So Indian government so far had been very confident, very oriented, and has taken very stringent, stand on all the issues. Now, the question for the future is twofold. Regarding Canadian perspective, has the Canadian government moved in haste? Because so far the evidences, the claimed evidences are not published. These are not concrete evidences. So without having a concrete evidence, without having solid evidence, accusing an Indian government, accusing a strong government. So was Canada showing a haste in movement? That is the Canadian dimension. And regarding India, what will be the way by which the Indian diplomats, the Indian authorities will resolve this particular issue? So these are the two questions which we as global citizens need to await for. Now, before concluding the video, I would like to make a disclosure or a disclaimer. while I'm using the term Sikh communities or Sikh diaspora, it is not a holistic statement, not only in this particular podcast. Even when you're listening to a television news, even when you're reading a newspaper, even when you're reading a journal article, when they are mentioning Sikh communities or Sikh diaspora, it is not a holistic statement. Khalistan movement or Khalistan referendum, pro-Khalistani activities are favored or are supported by a separate significant section of Sikh diaspora. It is not a holistic statement. So on that note, I thank you for watching this video and stay tuned for more such videos on Indian economy. Thank you.